questions in a second. First of all, I want to point out a couple of things. First of all, Car Cost Canada is the main sponsor of the channel, so I'd love for you to go over there and sign up. It's free. You use the promo code MOTORMOUTH and you get access to extra searches. And there's going to be lots of deals on cars as we continue to go through the fall and into next year. A couple of new videos. Bronco video came out 2 days ago, I think. So Bronco is out. What do you guys think of it? Yeah, actually, it was on when we did it on Monday. That's right. Monday at 5 o'clock is when that video went live, and a lot of interest. Everybody seems to like it. There's a couple of negatives about it. Some people think it's like trying too hard. I can see that a little bit, but I think, you know, it's great that Ford's doing this. Just yesterday, Nissan introduced a new all-electric SUV that is coming, but it's going to be next year for the Japanese market around this time, and then later in the year for our North American market. Okay, so we want to get some pictures coming in again. If you want to send your pictures, send them to Zack@motormouth.ca, ZACK@motormouth.ca, or ZACK@motormouth.ca. And we do have Alex back from Israel with his video question. Let's get to that.
Hi Zach, I'm glad you're back to those live shows, and I want to say you hello from the top of the view of my city. And my question for today is, in our country, for the hybrid engines, Toyota hybrid, you have to pay after factory warranty is over, extra for 1 year or 15,000 kilometers, extra warranty, like $150 per year or 15,000 kilometers. Is it the same in your country or only ours? Thank you very much.
All right, there's Alex, always a great contributor. In Israel, it's always so cool. I just can't, sometimes, you know, I just have to think to myself, here I am in Vancouver, in my basement office, and he's on the other side of the world in Israel, sending a question. I think it's really cool. So if you want to send a question, or you want to get a picture of your car on, Zack@motormouth.ca is the way to do it. So the answer to the question, Alex, is that no, here in North America, they actually just extended the warranty on hybrid batteries from Toyota to 10 years. So the initial warranty was 8 years, and just last year they announced that they're going to go to 10 years, and you don't have to spend any extra money. And I can't believe they make you do that. So I guess $150 to extend each year. It's probably not bad insurance, I would say, not too expensive to do that. But yeah, it's 10 years now here in North America. All right. Let's see what we got going on. Let's get into the questions here. Sam B. I was wondering if there are any embargoes for car reveals or driving impressions. What could happen if a car journalist doesn't respect it? Entree? It's beer o'clock. What do you got there, Jack? Oh.
Whatever that is.
Thank you. Say hello to everybody. See, Jack is sucking up because he went to Starbucks and didn't get me a coffee, right?
Sure.
Come in.
Come in? You want me in?
No, he can't. He went to Starbucks and he got himself something, but didn't get me something. So now he's bringing me a beer. Somebody also caught on to us, Jack. It's just part of the gag.
That I don't just bring you a beer?
That you bring me a beer every time. So say goodbye to everybody. Okay. We got to get on with it. Peace out.
Bye.
You know Jack wants his own show. You know that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he wants his own show. So this, by the way, is Spirit Lifter. So John Mann was the lead singer of a West Coast band called Spirit of the West. And if you don't know Spirit of the West, if you're not from Canada, I strongly encourage you to go and check out Spirit of the West. Great sort of Celtic roots rock band, especially from the 90s. And John Mann, super nice guy. I interviewed him several times for TV when I used to do entertainment. Came with advanced Alzheimer's early in his life. And so the money raised from Spirit Lifter Beer here in Vancouver, some proceeds go towards his foundation. So here's to you, John Mann. What a good guy. And that's good stuff. That's Pilsner. I'll turn it that way so you can see it. Fantastic beer. I love Pilsner. Want to make sure I'm not missing any super chats because the other day I did. Okay, so let's get back to this question. Are there embargoes for car reveals or driving impressions? Yes. So when you go to usually a car launch event, you oftentimes for the European car launches, say we're going with Porsche or Audi or Volkswagen, you even have to sign saying that you're not going to break the embargo. And what it does is it gives everybody a fair shot at getting their stories or their videos and edited for a certain time. Because what happens on a car launch is that a car launch can take up to 3 weeks to get all of the journalists. This is typically for European big brands like Porsche or Audi. They'll have journalists come from China, from the Middle East, from South America, from North America, all throughout Europe. So they have a worldwide brand, and they let all of the journalists drive it, and then they have the release date. So if you break that embargo, basically you're a schmuck, and you're not going to get invited by them again. And the other thing is, for example, with the Bronco, there were all these spy pictures of the Bronco, and there were some renders, what people thought it was going to look like. But you know how they actually released the pictures? So I'll do it in Eastern time because it's easier to remember. They actually sent us the images for this at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the embargo lifted at 8 p.m. So basically, journalists throughout North America, throughout the world, had 6 hours to get their stories ready, whether they were video, for me it was video, or for websites or whatever. They gave us the information about the vehicle a week in advance, but the actual images were only 6 hours in advance. And they did that because they didn't want these to get leaked out. And if they did come out in that 6 hours, they would know right away who did it. So it's kind of like an honor thing. You don't want to be a dick and to lose, you know, that trust with a car brand, because basically they depend on us and we depend on them. Bruno says, what do you think is a smarter buy? A 718 GTS 4-liter or a 718 GT4? Money is no constraint. Well, a smarter buy, if you're talking about holding its value, would be the GT4, probably because there's going to be less of them. And anytime you get a GT car, they certainly hold their value. But the GT car is track focused, a sharper drive. Are you going to take it to the track? Are you going to do that once in a while with it? If you're not, then maybe it's not a smarter buy. If it's just about buying it, holding it, driving it, and reselling it, it probably is a better buy to get the GT4. Can't wait to see you put the new Bronco through its paces. That thing is going to be so friggin' sweet. I would kind of agree with you. I think it's going to be kind of fun to drive. The orders for it are already through the roof. I think they've sold out the allotment they can make. They only had you had to put $100 down in order to get an allotment. I heard stories of people putting down one for the 2-door and one for the 4-door. I encourage you, not right now, but go back and watch the video, and you see the footage of the Bronco going over uneven pavement, and the wheels are kind of flopping around. That's one of the things I noticed about when I drove the Ranger with the off-road package, is that the suspension was really soft, and I didn't really love it, and it kind of bounced on pavement. When you got it off-road, it was fine because that's what it's designed for. But on pavement, the back end of the Ranger was kind of doing this bucking thing like a Bronco, and that's one thing I didn't like about it. So it's going to be interesting to drive it to see if it has that same kind of effect. We got ourselves a super chat. Canadian operator. I want to go see a 2010 Pontiac Vibe. I went to go and see a 2010 Pontiac Vibe today, and it was clean. It's 298,000 kilometers, asking $5,000. I was hoping for your opinion on the Vibe. I got no problem with the Vibe. The Vibe is basically a co-developed product with Toyota. So if you like the idea of the Vibe, check out the Matrix. The Matrix and the Vibe were both basically assembled in, I believe, the factory that Elon Musk now makes the Tesla in. I believe it was made in that factory in Fremont, California. So that was a joint venture between the two. The only issue I have with that car now is that it's got a 4-speed automatic, so not that many gears. They prove to be very reliable. So if you're looking at a Matrix, also look at a Vibe. The car does have a lot of mileage on it. So to say that it's going to be bulletproof, well, when you're buying a car that is 10 years old and has almost 300,000 kilometers, you're basically buying the previous owner's maintenance, and were they diligent in keeping the maintenance up. So you have to get it inspected. You have to get it looked at by a mechanic. To me, $5,000 for a car that old with that many miles seems like a lot of money. I would go to CanadianBlackBook.com and find out what the wholesale price is on it. I don't think it's anywhere near $5,000. That seems like quite an expensive Vibe with a lot of miles on it. People with Aston Martins and Rolex watches are already laughed at. For younger people, it's Apple Watch and Tesla. Like, that's the stupidest thing. Oblivious 713. That is a dumb statement. Are you just saying? Are you basically lumping people into certain generations? That's not true. One of the hottest YouTube channels right now on watches is a young guy called Teddy Baldassare, and he has his cute girlfriend on with him. She's very pretty, and he's a young guy. He did a couple of videos with, what's his name, Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, talking about high-end watches. And that's just like a stupid thing to say. Aston Martins and Rolex are people laughed at. That's just dumb. I'm sorry. Feel free to leave if you don't like my comments. Stefan says, cheers. Yes, it's the subscriber sip. If you hadn't subscribed to the channel, cheers. Now, speaking of subscribers, I want to give a shout out to Jacob and Yuri from the Straight Pipes. They just passed 1 million subs. Like, that's amazing. So congratulations to them. They certainly have found their formula that really works for people. They've now got 1 million subs. And if you see Jacob wearing, so here's a perfect example. Okay, here you go. Obvious 713. People, it's for younger people. It's Apple and Tesla. So Jacob from the Straight Pipes, because he knows I'm into watches, wanted a Rolex GMT, a Pepsi. And I got him one here in Vancouver, and I shipped it to him, or I had it shipped, just as COVID broke. And he took it and he put it away. That's his 1 million sub gift to himself. So I always say, when you're going to buy a high-end product like that, something that you're going to be able to cherish, every time he looks at it, that's a major milestone. So congratulations to Jacob and Yuri at Straight Pipes for hitting 1 million subs. That's an amazing accomplishment, and kudos to them. And enjoy. And here's the other thing. Every time Jacob looks at that Pepsi GMT, he's also got to think of me. Yikes. Raj is saying, Bronco looks amazing. I want one, but I don't want to pay $40,000. Do you think there'll be any discounts? Absolutely not. There will not be any discounts. However, there might be an opportunity to get a Wrangler at a deal, because, you know, obviously they're coming right up the backside of Jeep. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the pricing of that, to see if they're going to be able to get the pricing down for the Wrangler. But no, there's going to be no deals on Bronco, at least not for 18 months or 2 years, until they can actually start making them in numbers. Here's the thing about the Bronco. I don't know what the price is yet. They say it starts at $40,000 for the two-door version. My guess, this thing's going to be freaking expensive. Like, you look at the prices of Wrangler, they have jacked the prices up of Wrangler over the last few years. With this latest version, they really put the price up. I remember it wasn't that long ago, Wrangler started at like $23,000, $24,000. Now the prices are way up. So what's it going to be like for Bronco? What's the price going to be? And a lot of people that maybe put down deposits, once they see what the actual transaction price is going to be, might just say, you know what, give me my $100 back and I'll go away. When do you get the 2021 Toyota Sienna? The vehicle is going to be released next month. So hopefully I'll be getting it shortly after that. What makes forged wheels better? I don't understand why copying a wheel design improves it. I'm not sure what you mean by copying a wheel design. Forged versus cast wheels is a good question for somebody. You know what I should do is, back when we can actually get a chance to go on the road, that's a good question when I actually get to chat with an engineer about what makes the difference between forged and cast. Here's an interesting thing. I had a question actually for Toyota one time. We were on a launch event, and if you look on alloy wheels, it looks like there's a little sort of a J and an L stamp on the alloy wheel. And I said, what does that mean? I see that, when I'm cleaning wheels or whatever. I said, what does that stamp mean? And you know what they did? They called Japan, and they asked in Japan, what is it? That's the great thing about having PR people. They say, we'll find out the answer for you. So they call Japan, and they find out. I think that, so what it ended up being, it was a standard that the wheel was made for strength. And it's not only a standard that's used by Toyota, it's used by other manufacturers. So whenever you see that little emblem, it kind of almost looks like an Atari, the old Atari. I mean, anybody remembers those consoles? It almost looks like an Atari emblem. So they have it on Japanese cars and Korean cars as well. Josh is here. Hey, brother, good to see you. Josh, time to get your subscribers up like Yuri and Jacob. They love you. Well, they're good guys. We've become friends. Yeah. What's a guy to do? I don't know what the hell I do, right or wrong. I just do what I do. I can't. You know what I think? Part of the thing is that they're younger than me, obviously, and they're really tied into the whole social media thing when it comes to Instagram. Like they whenever I'm with them and we're on an event together, they never stop working. Like I'm lazy. I will finish this and I'll go and have dinner and I'll watch TV with my wife. They are on their phone. Like they're always on their phone. They're always on Instagram. That's all they do. And it's a huge job. Like I don't know. So kudos to them. Maybe they're rewarded because they work harder. I don't know. I think it's also they're younger. They have a different audience than me. The interesting thing is I went on my analytics today and I looked, and my analytics are basically 25 to 50 roughly, and the peak is actually our millennials that watch my channel, and then Gen Xers, which is my age, my demographic. So that's the core of this channel. I would suspect their skews a little bit younger, but I'd have to ask them. Here's a timely question. Hey Zach, can you believe Dodge is getting rid of the Caravan? Do you think Dodge is making a mistake? I don't know if Caravan buyers will go to Chrysler brand instead of going to another car maker. So Nick is referring to the fact that, of course, the Grand Caravan as we know it is going away. Just announced today is that Chrysler is going to be making a Grand Caravan just for the Canadian market. So it's the Pacifica. So I don't know if you remember that it was the Chrysler Grand. It was, yeah, there was the Chrysler Grand Caravan was a Chrysler. And then they came out with the Dodge Grand Caravan. Now it's going back to Chrysler. And so they're coming out with a sort of a stripped down, cheap and cheerful version just for the Canadian market. And that's a good thing. So the price will be higher than we can get like a super inexpensive Grand Caravan today. But it's a much more refined vehicle. The ride of the Pacifica, in my opinion, it's the best. I haven't driven the new Sienna yet, but the ride of the new of the Pacifica is the best driving minivan I've ever driven. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the cheap and cheerful version of it. Hello from Guatemala. Nice that you're here. I love it. So we had Alex from Israel. We've got Guatemala. Anybody else? I'm still waiting for someone from Australia. I want someone from Australia. We've had Africa on here before. Of course, we've had Europe. Let's see if we can get somebody from Southern Hemisphere, way down in Australia. Zach, I really want to be a hero on your channel. Can I spend $500 on a super chat and you send me $495 back in an e-transfer? Now you're just being a dick. James, if you missed it last week, James sent me $400 on a super chat, and he didn't realize it, and then I had to send it back to him. So, see if there's any other super chats here, by the way. So we've only got one for $5. Come on, you guys, don't be so cheap. I just bought all this new gear. You can help a guy out. Jeff is saying, thanks for the Bronco vids. COVID continuing and Bronco Sport coming to dealers soon. Do you think there will be any incentives? No. I mean, maybe for the Sport, but not initially. There will not be any incentives on that right away. You might get the zero interest, like you might get the Ford family and friends discount that they always seem to have. But I don't think there's going to be any massive discounts on that car. Wee Haggis, nice to see you. Nick, I always get Nick and Nate. Nate is the dad. Nick. Oh, by the way, I gotta find it. You know what? Because Wee Haggis's dad, Huge Haggis, works at the Cambridge facility, and I'm gonna get to that in a moment. Hey Zach, here he goes again. Is an 07 to 10 Volkswagen Golf GTI good on gas and quick because I'm looking to get one for my first car? Yeah, that's probably not a bad thing to think about. They can be good on gas if you don't put your foot into it all the time. But if it's your first car and you're having that sort of roughly 200 horsepower, you're going to use a lot more gas. Because whenever you have the power and you use the power, there goes the gas. Okay. Quickly, just give me 2 seconds, because I'm not sure if you remember, but I was saying I wanted to get a question into Scott from Toyota. The Scott McKenzie, there he is. He is from Toyota PR, and he also is the head of PR for the Toyota manufacturing in Cambridge, Ontario. So they make the RAV4. They make and the Lexus RX. So I was talking a week or so ago about the run rate of vehicles and factories getting back up to speed. So I said, hey Scott, how are you holding up? It's been busy out here in Vancouver. I've been doing many live shows, and one thing came up. Is the Cambridge plant up to full run rate? How many cars a minute typically come out of there, and where are they now? Have you heard of the numbers from any other plants? And he says, I'm not sure on the status of other plants, but here are the numbers. He said, we're at full run rate across all three plants. Just happened recently and a little ahead of schedule. So the run rates are for the West Line for Cambridge, they're doing one RAV4 every 60 seconds. Can you imagine that? Every 60 seconds they make a RAV4. On the North Line, where they also make RAV, they're making a RAV4 every 70 seconds. And at the South Line, which is where they make the Lexus RX, they're making a Lexus RX every 120 seconds. Isn't that amazing? So it looks like Toyota is back up to almost full capacity, or he's telling me they are at full capacity, and that is great news. It's good to see that they're able to achieve that. I just lost my frickin', there it is, my super chat. All right. I'm going to go down here and find my super chat. Do you think if Dodge were to bring back the Omni and put an SRT4 in writing on the Dodge Dart platform, it will sell well in today's market? So an Omni, Dodge Omni. So that was the little Econo box. So you're talking about basically going back to like an Omni GLH. Do you remember those cars? The Dodge Omni GLH? And do you know what GLH stood for? Anybody know what GLH stood for? Type it below. You get a gold star if you know what GLH stood for. Yeah, I think there's probably room. There would be room for like a hot little car, but hot little cars really don't sell in big numbers. I mean, they're fun for enthusiasts, but it's not a big number. You don't sell mass numbers of higher performance cars. I think that it's the Corollas and the Civics of the world. That's what sells. Okay, let me get back to where I was here. got to catch up where I was. Hello from Guatemala. We did that one. James is here. I sold Fords for 9 years. Won't be much of discounts and also higher interest loans from Ford Credit than other trucks for the first few years. So James is absolutely right. And it's nice that we have James here. He once in a while will send me $400. That's always a good thing. But also James worked in the industry. He's not in the industry any longer. He works in kind of a related field, but he sent me some messages on Facebook. But it's good to have James here because he actually is a good resource if you have questions for him here on the chat, because he knows how the dealership process works. And I agree with him. There's not going to be any deals on Broncos. There might be some reduced interest rates just because of the overall climate of car purchases, but we're not going to see anything for 18 to 24 months on that. Oh yeah, here's a good one. What do you think about Stellantis? So that's the new name of the branding name for FCA and Peugeot. They're going to call themselves Stellantis. And somebody wrote on one of the auto journalist forums, it's like it's like one of those drug names you see on TV. This cures everything, and see your doctor if you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours. It's Stellantis. Anytime you have an erection lasting more than 4 hours, that's not good. Eric. Oh, by the way, Eric sent a nice picture through. He was with Josh. Both of them are in Montreal, and they know each other, and they got together and had they were having some, I think they were having, was it Irish whiskey you guys were having? And they sent me a picture and said cheers, and it was very nice. It's kind of cool. I got to tell you, that getting to know you, a lot of you, you send me emails, I get to see your chats here, we get to kind of know each other a little bit. And when all of this is all said and done and I'm back on the road again, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a meet up and grab a beer together with a few of you. All right, so what's Eric saying? Eric is saying, skipped out after work happy hour with my colleagues. That way I can watch the live show. Cheers to that. This is where I want to spend my Beck's o'clock. I didn't do Beck's tonight. I switched it up. So by the way, the Spirit Lifter beer, in honor of the lead singer of Spirit of the West, is made by a local little brewery here in Vancouver called Off the Rail. And by the way, Mike, who used to be a contributor to the channel, he has a small brewery in Kensington Market, Kensington Brewing. Kevin's here. Saying, I had to walk out of the dealership yesterday after salesman added an extra $1,000 in fees and wouldn't budge on the price. Ridiculous. Well, you did the right thing. And I would love to hear what James has to say as somebody who worked in a dealership has to say about that. So here's what I do whenever, I mean, it's slightly different for me because people know who I am when I go to the dealership, but this is what I say right away. I'm not paying any extra fees, right? I'm interested in a car, but I'm not paying any extra fees. And they go, okay, like some fees you have to pay. Like if you're accessing like Ford Credit, for example, like they might have a fee that you have to pay. But those dealership fees that they just slap on there, it's just a profit center. And you just tell them, the first thing you say to them is, I'm interested in buying a car here, but I'm not paying any extra fees. If they still talk to you and want to do business with you, well, you've set that up right away. But Kevin, you did the exact same thing. You did the exact right thing. Walk out of there, go down the street and find a dealer that isn't trying to jerk you around. And hopefully the salesperson has your phone number. And when they call you up and say, oh, what happened? You didn't buy that car. And you just say to them, well, I'll buy the car if you get rid of all the fees. Just simple as that. What are your thoughts on the Cadillac CT5? I ordered one back in February, but it still hasn't arrived in Montreal yet, sadly. Interesting, I got an email from General Motors PR department, and I have a CT5 booked for the second week of August. So just like a month from now, not even a month from now, 3 weeks from now. So I'm going to get a chance to drive it. Now it is the CT5-V. It's not the hardcore V like a CTS-V. It's the V, what do they call it again? VTEC? Not VTEC. You know, it's the higher performance version, but not a full V. So I can't wait to drive it. I'm a huge fan of Cadillac design. I think every time I see a Cadillac car, I think, you know what? There's a brand that's doing something differently. Their cars don't look like every other car on the road, and I like that. And I think their design is very nice. It's muscular, it's athletic, it's elegant. The lighting package on the front is great. The grille looks good. I like the design of their cars, and I'm a big fan of the way a lot of them drive as well. So I'm looking forward to driving it. I really can't tell you much more than that because I haven't driven it yet. I've only driven the old cars with the old names. Stefan is saying, yes, finally another beer. Cheers. Yeah, I switched it up. I was actually at a neighbor's house, and it was late at night after about 3 bottles of wine, and he said, do you want a whiskey? And I said, well, that's a terrible idea. Do you have a beer just to switch it up? And he gave me this, and I said to him, I think that's the best beer I've ever tasted. So the very next day, I drove over to the brewery and bought some. ND Squash says, I just put an order in for a Bronco Outer Banks trim. What's your preferred trim and color? Mark from the Niagara region. Well, you should be drinking some wine down there. I haven't gone through and looked at them all, to be honest with you. I think the orange one, the little 2-door that they showed in the video was pretty cool. I don't know. I haven't looked at them all, but I think it's great that there's actually some excitement around a new product. I think that's good. Mike Shaw is just done a super chat, so let's get to Mike while I can find it here. Sorry. There we go. Hey, Zach, you may remember I have a 19 Porsche Macan. Do you recommend finding a private mechanic after warranty is up and not use the dealer? Well, here's the thing is, Mike, you don't need to use the dealer now. You're not obliged. What you're obliged to do is to do the maintenance up to what the dealership or actually the booklet says. So you can find an aftermarket mechanic, and this is not just for Porsche. This is true for every brand, whether it's a Honda or whatever. If you do what the book says for the scheduled maintenance, and you can get an invoice that itemizes all the things that you've ever done to it, then they can't say anything about warranty claims. So you can do that at any time. It's not a bad idea to shop around and see what kind of deals you can get. And you can also flip it on the dealership. And you can say, hey, listen, I'll give you a perfect example. So we had a Cayenne several years ago. We have one now, but this was our first Cayenne. And it had the VR6 engine in it, same engine they used in the Touareg. And the dealership called me up and said, oh, it's time for your service. And I said, well, how much is the service to do basically an oil change on it? And they said, it's $495. I said, I'll call you right back. I phoned up the Volkswagen dealer and I said, how much to do an annual service on a Touareg? And they said $250. So I called Porsche back and I said, by the way, Volkswagen will do an annual service on my Cayenne for $250. And they said, oh, you know too much. So they did it for $250. You know what happened the next year? They never called me again. I think because they must put next to my name, cheap Scottish bastard is probably what they put next to my name. Charlottetown Spud is here. Hey, $10 towards the new gear. Thank you, brother. Nice to get that. Having our first feed. Oh, nice. Having the first feed of our PEI new potatoes. Can't wait. PEI strawberries too. Yum. Yeah, Prince Edward Island is a beautiful part of Canada. And if you are having French fries here in Canada or pretty much anywhere in the world, there's a really good chance they come from 2 companies. One is called McCain and the other one is Cavendish. And almost all of the French fries that you make in your oven are from Canada or from those 2 companies. It's like our little French fry mafia. All right, I got to go back to where I was. Where the hell was I? Portuguese Water Dog again. Hey, Zach, always thanks for the great live show. Suggestions on any good used convertibles 5 years or older that could get 2 kids in the back seat. One of my favorites is the A5. I'm a big fan of the A5 because it's a regular convertible. It isn't a hardtop convertible like the 3 Series or the 4 Series now, because it just like you lose all of the trunk. The A5 convertible has a useful back seat and a useful trunk because it's a traditional soft top. So that is one. What other ones are there out there? That would be, if you wanted to go a little smaller, you could also look at the A3, which is a Volkswagen Golf convertible. Basically, that's what you're looking at. There you go, Huge Haggis. Home for a rest. Cheers to John Mann. So if you're not from Canada and you don't know Spirit of the West, the band is called Spirit of the West, and Home for a Rest is probably their most famous song. And John Mann was the man and was the lead singer and a super nice guy. Like I used to run into him at the drugstore and I'd say, "Hey, John," because I'd interviewed him many times. The sweetest guy. And if you ever want to see, he sort of did a final farewell concert at the Commodore Ballroom here in Vancouver, which is one of the best places to see a live show, period. Colin James was there. I think Sarah McLachlan was there. A bunch of other local Vancouver artists, and he sang, and he used a teleprompter because he was losing his faculties, but he put on a great and brave show, and it's a bit of a tearjerker at the end, that's for sure. Here's a question for you. I was looking at a Corolla hybrid at the dealership. The best they could do was $800 off. They said profits from cars built in Japan are very slim. Is that true? Here's a news flash for you. And James, as I mentioned, worked at a dealership. There is not a lot of profit in brand new cars at dealerships. And there certainly isn't a lot of profit on cars at that price. Like, I think that price is $24,000. So you got to remember a few things. So that sales guy or sales gal has to make some money. They gotta pay the rent and buy groceries. The dealership has to keep the lights on and pay the rent and buy the car and all that kind of stuff. And so there has to be profit in there for them. So there's less profit on a car imported from Japan. So what the dealer pays for the car, I'm not exactly sure, but James would agree with me here. There are not huge margins. Like, people think that dealers are getting rich selling new cars. They make more on used cars because they can buy them cheap and sell them for higher. But yeah, $800 off a $24,000 car actually isn't that bad. You could ask them for things like, could you get me winter tires at cost? Like, they're not going to get them to you for free, but just say, can you order me the winter tires at your cost so there's no markup? And say, can I see the invoice? Can they get you a spare set of wheels and tires? That sort of thing is how you can save some money. They might be able to throw in like the mud flour, the all-weather mats and stuff like that. But yeah, there's not going to be a lot of money in it for them, to be honest with you. Oh, here we go. Dave Evans is here. Love your channel, watching from Perth, Australia. Dave, I challenge you to send me a video chat because I'd love to have an Australian accent on the channel. Zach at motormouth.ca. I challenge you, my friend. And I've been to Australia. I don't know if you can't see it on the map. Well, the map's cut off. But I did go to Australia. I went and saw the very last race with the Volkswagen World Rally Championship in not Coffs Harbour, but Coffs Harbour, yeah, that's where it was. Jeff's here. Spirit of the West, saw them many times through Western Canada in the early and mid-90s. Yep, pretty legendary. Your thoughts on the Polestar 2? I live in Vancouver, so delivery shouldn't be an issue. That's funny. That's clever, because it's going to be made in China. That's good. I like that. So there you go. The Polestar is a beautiful car. I mean, I saw it at the Geneva Motor Show. Obviously not this year, but last year, the year before. It's going to be a real contender for the Tesla Model 3. My problem is not my problem, but the problem is people who are thinking of electric cars are thinking Tesla or nothing, which is really silly because there's so many good products out there. And there's nothing really proprietary about electric cars. You need a platform, you need batteries, you need electric motors, and basically you need software. And there's nothing proprietary to what Tesla does other than their interface is what people really like. They like the way they've done that. But, you know, here's the new EV from Nissan is going to be coming next year. Audi's going to have more of them. There's going to be more and more electric cars. But what I fear is that the public is going to say it's got to be Tesla or nothing. So the Polestar could be a fantastic product, but if it's not got Tesla badge on the front, are people not going to buy it? I don't know. Rory O'Donnell, should I move to Canada? Well, if you elect the Orange Man again, if you're in the United States, I would suggest yes, get the hell out. I don't know. The border's shut, by the way, to Americans if you're American right now. Rory, where do you live? Daniel is saying, do you know why Honda and some Kia cars do not have the seat controls on the side of the passenger seat in the North American versions compared to their Korean versions? I think that's really just clearly copying. If you're talking about it being on the door, it's just copying Mercedes-Benz. That's all it is. I don't like the seat adjustments on the door. I prefer it on the seat because it's logical. You slide the little thing forward, you move forward. You slide it back, you go back. When you do it on the door, I don't know. I don't really like that. Kevin says, did you see the Straight Pipes latest video? They put a picture of you on it. Yes, I did see that. Jacob texted me this morning and said I got a shout out. I said I didn't get a shout out for the watch. I figured I would have got a shout out for that. Has Ford fixed the manufacturing issues with the Explorer? I would suggest they've probably worked on it a lot. You know what I'm driving this week? The Explorer. Now I encourage you to watch the video when it comes out, but basically when it comes out, I can just tell you right now, I'm not loving it. I can't believe that for a 3-row mid-size utility, it's a 2.3 liter 4-cylinder. I don't get that. Josh is back. I see late 90s, early 2000s SUVs are increasing in value. Any that come to mind that you find cool are a good example. I see late 90s, early 2000 SUVs are increasing in value. I would probably say things like 4Runners. Like the 4Runners from the 90s and the 2000s, like that's money in the bank. You can buy one of those, drive it for years, and sell it for the same money that you paid for it. I'm cross-shopping the Kona Ultimate versus the Forte GT. Heard that the Forte is more fun to drive, but want the practicality of all-wheel drive. Can you compare the two? Well, I think that's the biggest differentiator is that, so I think what you're talking about is that the 1.6 liter in the Kona, if you like the all-wheel drive, and that's definitely something that's advantageous to you, then yeah, I think you can't get that engine with a manual transmission. I think it's automatic if you go for the higher spec engine in the Kona, but you can in the Forte get a manual transmission. That would be a big differentiator, and that's kind of like a GTI competitor. So yeah, it certainly would be, the differentiator would be all-wheel drive. So you have to decide if that's a deal breaker for you. Thoughts on the Expedition versus the GMC Yukon and the Tahoe? I haven't driven those vehicles yet. They're not out yet. So we'll have to wait until we get a chance to drive them. But here's the interesting thing. Thinking about the Expedition versus the Explorer, if it was me, instead of buying a high-spec Explorer, I would get an Expedition. I just think it's a better vehicle, period. Super Chat. Simon, What are you hearing about the 2022 Tundra? Will it really be a game changer with Toyota's hybrid tech? Will the 30 miles per gallon come to fruition? Well, this is just a lot of speculation at this point. I think that here's the thing is it is going to come to fruition because Toyota has said publicly on the record that they are going to have an electrified version of every vehicle in their lineup. So that includes trucks, right? So Tundra, Tacoma. They also have to do Sequoia. So what I think we're going to see is leading up to that are new body-on-frame trucks coming from them, and that's when they would implement hybrid technology. Now, is it going to be just a mild hybrid like you get with the Ram, or is it going to be a proper hybrid like you get with their other vehicles? We'll have to wait and see. So this is all just speculation. 30 miles per gallon certainly would be a game changer, but I think that we'll have to wait and see. Here's the thing is, you can get incredible fuel economy with the diesels that are available right now from the domestic manufacturers. So they gotta have something that's better than that. So what do the diesels offer? Incredible towing capacity, known reliability, longevity of the engines, and also known fuel economy, not only at low speeds, but towing on the highway. Okay, so we got a lot of people so that's my theory on that. If I was buying a truck, I would get a diesel. All right, we had some people. I asked the question, was the Dodge Omni GLH stood for goes like hell? So G Markey got it right. Richard got it right. Mark Woods got it right. XXGG got it right. Jerry got it right. Stefan got it right. A lot of people got it right. There you go. Goes like hell. That's good. That was a great little car, by the way, the little GLH. So I'm skipping around on the chat here. I apologize. Rory again. Should I replace my front-wheel drive Audi A4 low horsepower with a Cord 2-liter? Yeah, so that engine was the less powerful engine. I think it was, what was the regular engine? 220 or 240 horsepower? No, 241, and then that one was just around 200 horsepower. But it was available with a manual, which was cool, and they don't offer that anymore. A Cord 2-liter is fun. It's a fun engine. Now, it's also available with a manual transmission, so I'm not sure if you're into that at all, but the only one I've ever driven was the manual. So the 2-liter with the manual, that adds up to some fun. So I think if you're going to go front-wheel drive, that's not a bad car. Bruce is saying, further to my previous questions about AMG and M, are we paying for something that we shouldn't? It's interesting because, Bruce, I thought of you yesterday. I was driving behind a GLE 400, right? And I was looking at it and I'm thinking, that's, from a few years ago. And now it's called the GLE AMG, whatever the hell it is. Is it 53 or 43? I don't know, whatever the 6-cylinder version of it is. And I was thinking to myself, like, they've basically just stuck an AMG badge on their mid-level trim. So base model, then you get the mid-range one, and then you go to the true AMG. And I just think that they've hoored out the brand. I don't think you're actually paying more for it. I just think that they've just marketed it differently. I think those vehicles were always more expensive because they had the higher horsepower engine. But now they just put a badge on it. Do you think Jeep will make some changes to compete with Bronco? You think? Oh, yeah. I don't know what they have up, but listen, there's nothing secret in the auto industry. I mean, do you think FCA doesn't know that Bronco's coming? Don't think the people at FCA or Stellantis or whatever the hell it's called now don't know that it's there? They all share part suppliers. The intel goes back and forth on, they don't know everything about it, but they know a lot about it. And yeah, they're not going to sit on their hands and do nothing. And if they do, they're fools. Do you think that Toyota should bring back the FJ Cruiser to battle with the Bronco? Well, now Simon, is what I would say is your question earlier about the Tundra and the hybrid, that would be the perfect time to do it because, as I mentioned, they have to update their body-on-frame trucks. So that includes the Tundra, the Tacoma, and also the Sequoia, and that opens the door for them to maybe bring an FJ back when they're re-engineering all of that at the same time. So if they were going to do it, it would be when they bring all those vehicles out. I got to tell you, it's one of the best financial decisions was buying an FJ Cruiser. The resale value on those is the highest of any vehicle sold. So if you have an FJ Cruiser, it's money in the bank. Now, if they bring out a new FJ Cruiser, that won't be the case. But a big part of it is because you can't get one anymore. But I don't know why brands bring out these successful vehicles and then they stop making them after a very short run. Another one was the Honda Element. That was a successful vehicle, and then they just gave up on it. Your Instagram pictures are awesome. Keep them coming. Yeah, if you want to follow along on Instagram, I do a series called Cars on My Walk. And when I take the dog out with Andrea a couple times a day, I see a lot of them are older cars. I take pictures, and the series is called Cars on My Walk. So my handle on Instagram is motormouth_auto. If you type in motormouth_ and then it should pop up. So follow along. There's pictures I do of the cars we're test driving, but also of these old cars as well. The Bronco looks just like the Land Rover Defender. One big piece of garbage. Ford is quality zero. Also love your channel. Buy from New England. There you go. You had to get it off your chest. That's good. Lotus Elise or Porsche Boxster? When you're watching this channel, you should know it's Porsche all day long. Just for resale value, you know, reliability, all those sorts of things. A few weeks back, you mentioned the Bricklin. My cousin's best friend drove one for many years. Any thoughts? Well, they were, you know, a bit plastic fantastic. They're all fiberglass with the gull wing doors. If you don't know what a Bricklin is, if you're not Canadian, look up the Bricklin. It's the last real Canadian made car. Not made car, because we make cars here, but, you know, engineered here. So yeah, it's a cool car. I look good, and you see them once in a while. It looks a lot like a DeLorean. That's the best way to describe it. Have you ever driven the Honda Accord Sport 1.5T with a manual? I'm thinking about trading my Civic Sport hatchback. I haven't driven that one. As I said, I've only driven the 2-liter. If I was you, I would look at the Civic Si. That's the one I would buy. If I was going to go and upgrade to a newer version, I would get the Civic Si with 200 horsepower. That's a great little car. Thoughts on the RAV4 Hybrid XLE? Good purchase. Yes, Anne, that is a very good purchase. The problem is getting one. Interesting you bring this up because tomorrow on the channel, I'm dropping an interview with Stephen Beattie, Vice President of Toyota Canada, and I asked the question about availability of a lot of their hot products. They're in an enviable position of they've got some new stuff that people really want. RAV4 Hybrid is one of them. RAV4 Prime is another. They've got a new Sienna. They've got the new Venza. I did a little walk-around video with one of their product specialists that went yesterday or this morning. So Stephen Beattie's on. I'll paraphrase basically. They're ramping up production and they have a lot of demand for that product. So here's the thing. It is a great resale value on those RAV4 hybrids. They hold their value. The hybrid technology with Toyota is proven to be very, very reliable. They actually get fantastic fuel economy. I encourage you, if you haven't seen the video I did of the RAV4 fuel economy test, it was about a year ago it came out. So go on the channel and type in RAV4 hybrid. You'll see the video I did with the new RAV4 hybrid, and I actually exceeded the posted numbers. I think it's, if I was buying a RAV4, that's probably the one I would buy. So yeah, good choice. All right. Greetings from Spain, from a Spanish driver. Oh, sorry. Greetings again from a Spanish driver aficionado. I just purchased a 2012 Miata with 44,000 miles on the clock for 13,000 US dollars. I'm like a kid with new shoe. Never felt so young before. Well, you look pretty young, dude. Let's get a look at your picture again. How old are you? You look like a baby. That's a great car. I would say that if you've never driven a Miata, you owe it to yourself to try one. Or get in touch with Fernando and take his out for a drive. It's a great car. It really, really is. Oh, somebody actually spotted it. Here we go. Truman, is that a doxa on your arm? Cool. No, this is not a doxa on my arm, but I do understand the reference. James Stacy from Hodinky, we actually spent the day together, not this winter, but the winter before, at a Porsche winter driving thing. Cool guy, a fellow Canadian, is probably one of the main writers for the watch channel Hodinky, is a major Doxa fan. No, that's not a Doxa dive watch. That is a Seiko 5 from the sort of mid-70s in orange. And I bought this bracelet, and I just went to the watchmaker yesterday because the hands weren't aligned, so I got it fixed. So there you go. Somebody spotted my sort of summer fun orange watch. That's a Seiko 5 from the mid-1970s. Ali is here. Zach and your wife are doing an amazing work. Cheers. I appreciate that. And I'll pass that along to Andrea. Andrea's, I think like a lot of women are, worried what people think. And I think women get criticized unfairly because of the way they have to look. They got to be, trim and look good, and their hair's got to be nice, and they wear a nice outfit. Where I could show up and do a video with the exact same shirt on for 10 years and not one of you would notice. Not one of you. But women get critiqued at a different level. So I think that she's sort of, she's coming to realize that the audience has now welcomed her, I think, which is very nice. So anytime you can write nice things in the comments when you see a video and Andrea's in them, it really makes her day. It really does. Phil is here. Better deal, Audi S4 or C43 AMG? I think they're both fantastic vehicles. I am a bit of an Audi fan, though. I like the C43. I like the S4 more. I like the interior of the Audi more. I like the simplicity of the dash. I think that C-Class is very nice, but it's getting on in age now. I think for me it's the S4. We'll do one or two more here. Timothy, looking at an E-Class with a new midsize luxury sedan. Replace the E-Class with a new midsize luxury sedan. I don't want another E-Class. I have an A6 accident trauma. Think I should consider other than the 5 Series. Here's the thing, Tim. Honestly, one car that you should look at is not the 5 Series, is the 3 Series Grand Coupe. Just try it with the inline 6-cylinder engine. So the 3 Series Grand Coupe. Do yourself a favor and try that car, because the 5 Series has become so big. It's gotten too big. It's the size of a 7 Series from 10 years ago. That's my big takeaway from that. See if I missed any super chats here, because I don't want to. Oh, huge haggis at the bottom. There we go. Where's Mr. Haggis? Here's $4 for your trip to Southern Ontario. I'm cheap. I know you drive a base model Micra, but I love that in you. I think that's cool. So huge haggis. All we need now is a little haggis to wash it down. By the way, Nate's name is Huge Haggis because his wife is from Glasgow, and he came up with the handle Huge Haggis years ago. So there you go. We are up against the clock. Why do I have 2 thumbs down? What the hell am I doing wrong? The Straight Pipes have 1 million subs, and I get 2 thumbs down. Have a great night, everybody. I'll see you back here on Monday. Don't forget to subscribe to Car Cost Canada. Thanks to everybody that chimes in here. It's always nice to have you on board. And I will chat with you Monday, same channel, same time, at 5 Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern. Ciao. Take it easy. Bye now.